This week, the U.S. Conference of Bishops met in Fort Lauderdale and took aim at the Trump administration's policies on immigration, calling it immoral the way the president and the attorney general are taking children away from parents who come into the United States fleeing gang violence in Latin America. After the conference, Miami's Archbishop Thomas Wensky stopped by the studio to discuss the church's strong stand. The attorney general made the argument that it's in the Bible that you should honor the law, respect the law, not break the law. And he was almost trying to say that the Bible compels them to do what they're doing.
Yes, well, there are now laws can be just and laws can be unjust. Rosa Parks broke the law when she refused to sit in the back of the bus, and we honor her for that law breaking. The problem right now is not that these poor immigrants are breaking the law is breaking them, because the law is inadequate and it's antiquated and therefore is unjust in many of its aspects.
How would you argue against those who say by creating this system that they're doing by separating families, it discourages the folks from trying to come in the first place, which is a good thing because so often that journey is perilous and can be dangerous, and so by not accepting them, by breaking up the families, you're discouraging it and in the long run helping them.
Well, what you're doing is weaponizing children. You're making children a weapon to basically extort or frighten their parents to discourage them from coming. But that ignores the push factors. People are not coming only because life in the United States is attractive. For immigrants, life in the United States surely offers them opportunities they might not have in their home countries, but there's no walk in the park. Life in the United States for the immigrant is very different and difficult. But what is even more difficult are the push factors that are forcing people to flee.
The administration right now is even saying that the argument of domestic violence or gang violence is no longer a credible reason for asylum or to keep the family together.
And that's also a very unconscionable decision, because what was ISIS but a gang? ISIS was a non-state actor, and the Attorney General Sessions is saying, well, these gangs are private actors, they're not state actors. Well, neither was ISIS a state actor, but that doesn't deny the fact that they are terrorizing people, and people are fleeing and seeking protection. If a house is on fire, you don't help the people by locking the doors of the house, and that's what the Attorney General is trying to do.
Is this also rooted in racism? Do you believe that this is a racist administration?
Well, I'm not going to say that, but some of the consequences of these decisions are certainly racist, and they hurt minority groups, they hurt vulnerable people, they hurt the poor. And it is something that is really not worthy of our American values. However, this is very similar to what happened in the 1920s, when very restrictive legislation was passed, designed against Asians, the Chinese Exclusion Act, designs against Eastern Europeans, against Poles, and against Southern Europeans like Italians, because they thought that we were not able to become truly American.
Do you believe that this is that it is imperative for Catholics to vote on this issue along the lines of on the side of those who are trying to come in?
Sure. Our participation in the civil life of our nation, our participation in politics or in business should be coherent with our basic values and our faith values. So sure, and we should hold them account. And in coming weeks, where the bishops have been calling the people of the Freedom Caucus, the more right-wing part of the Republican Party that is right now standing in the way of a solution to the DACA kids. We're calling on our bishops, when they get home, to tell our people to talk to their congressmen and congresswomen and call them out, hold them accountable, so that we can have a just and a fair solution to the plight of the DACA kids, the plight of the TPS recipients, etc.
There has been some of your colleagues who have gone so far to even say that any Catholic who aids and abets this policy of separating families, that it's possible to even go so far as to deny them the sacrament of communion. Would you go that far?
I wouldn't go that far, but I would tell them that they could be very nervous facing the last judgment, and they don't have to answer to me. They'll have to answer to a higher authority. So I'm not the one that's going to pass judgment on anybody, but remind them that a judgment awaits for all of us. As I said too, there's nothing wrong with saying that we want to make America great again, and that should be an aspiration for every American citizen. But we're not going to make America great by making America mean. And these policies of locking up pregnant women, of separating children, toddlers from their parents, of weaponizing children to discourage parents from seeking their rights, all this is simply mean and mean-spirited.
We'll be right back after the break.